There's a moment in almost every Bethesda game where you step out of the tutorial and into the world beyond. In Skyrim, it's that first look at the mountains. In Fallout 3, it's the blinding light of the capital wasteland. And in Fallout 76, it's Appalachia stretching out in every direction. Also, a metric ton of pop-ups, but that's live service for you. Bethesda is very good at selling you on that moment. See that mountain? You can go there. See that town? You can nuke it. It feels infinite. But that's a lie. It isn't. No open world can be truly infinite. There must always be limits on the scope. Yes, fine. Games that use procedural generation can be infinite, but you get my point. Get off my back. A handcrafted world has edges, boundaries, and the edge of the map is a place where the illusion thins out. The edges of the open world games tend to be the forgotten areas. The designers don't want to draw your attention to the edges, so they don't put much there. So of course, that's where I want to look. Inspired by a similar video by Annie Austin made about the edges of Skyrim, and the fact that I've been playing Fallout 76 anyways, I decided to walk the edge of Appalachian Wasteland in Fallout 76. And I came up with these points of interest to tell you about. I began my trip around the map down in this corner, and then proceeded more or less clockwise around the map. But these, generally speaking, are the points we'll be checking out, and then we'll get to Burning Springs afterwards. So let's begin. So as I was heading north from our starting position, the first thing I came across was this bit of building in the river. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to that in a little bit. So leaving the broken building behind, the next thing I came across was 2 teddy bears preparing for a rafting adventure. There's no great meaning here. I just love little details like this. I can imagine some designer tossing this little scene together in a couple minutes while taking a break from some much larger project. Happy sales, little teddy bears. Further along the river, I found the first of several MoMan cultist shrines. Over the course of my walk, I discovered multiple of these dots around the edge. You can see these here. I briefly entertained the idea that if you connected them on the map, they might form some kind of occult symbol. They don't. I tried. There are some more shrines in the inland area, so maybe there's a bigger pattern I'm missing, but I'm not going to go looking for it. Now this next one took a bit of work to get up to the top of. A bit of creative jumping and jetpack use was required. The thing about this spot is that I'm pretty sure it's the highest point on the map. Of course, there's no topographical map or anything, and it may just be that it's the northern edge, and we all know that the north is higher, right? That's how it works. But I'm fairly sure this is the highest natural place on the map you can get as a player. Some of the buildings might be higher. It's just, a nice place to take in the view. A short walk from the highest point is this somewhat hidden campsite. There's a path that leads up here, but it's easy to miss. Whoever this person was, they had some interesting decorating ideas. You can see the skulls. But you can imagine a guy trying their best to eke out a life high up in these hills, maybe coming down occasionally to trade with the raiders over in Crater. It's a life, sort of. Now this next one isn't so much a point of interest as it is a glitch. Now I know what you're thinking, a Bethesda game? A glitch? Impossible. But while walking a ridge at sunset, I found this spot where the sun shines straight through the solid rock face. It's clearly a lighting bug, and it's weirdly beautiful. For a moment it feels like the mountain itself is glowing, like the world is trying to bless you in golden light. Up in this part of the map is one of my favorite things I found while traveling the edge, and you're gonna think it's dumb at first, so stick with me. This area is pretty scenic, with these lovely pools and a nice little stream flowing between them. While I was up here, there was a random encounter that had me listen to a story from a very friendly nanny robot. But what really interested me was this little spot. An area with some broken fencing and a roll of new fencing, a toolbox, and a hammer. That's it. That's all there is. I really like it when the stuff in the environment implies a story, and that's what I see here. The day before the bombs fell, which would be a Friday, because the bombs fell on a Saturday. Okay. Side note. According to the Fallout Wiki, the bombs fell on Saturday, October 23rd, 2077 at 9:42 Eastern Standard Time. Side tangent, that would make it 6:42 in Los Angeles, which means this kid's birthday party started very early in the morning. Oh, and I went to check. I'm honestly surprised no one has put this on IMDb Goofs section, knowing the internet. But anyway, So on a Friday, a guy was up here on the ridge replacing the fencing along his land. It was almost finished, but it was getting late, and he decided to come back to it on Monday. The area's pretty remote, so he just left his tools behind. But he never came back because the world ended. Am I reading too much into it? Yeah, probably. Maybe. But being able to create that story out of just a bit of broken fence and a toolbox is what makes stuff like this interesting to me.
I just think they're neat.
While I was working my way down the other side of the map, I came across what was less of a point of interest and more just a nice environmental touch. I was in the cranberry bog early one morning. A layer of mist rolled across the water. It was just a, nice atmospheric moment. Down here at the bottom of the map, there's a little house that isn't marked. It contains a bit of environmental storytelling with the dead guy and the outhouse. The main feature here is that this house has a random encounter spot in it. And as you can see at the time I was here, I was rudely assaulted by a number of robots. But my first time here, which unfortunately I was not filming for, was occupied by a pair of NPCs having a date. I wish I'd gotten it on camera because, let me tell you, the vibes were definitely off. Making for a much more striking encounter than just a few robots trying to shoot my head off. Way down here, at the bottom of the map, you're actually able to go off the edge of the map. Over here, there's a shed. It says keep out. It's chained shut. What's inside? Guess we'll never know, because it says keep out. On the western edge of the map here, I was expecting the border to sort of hug the last major point of interest, something like this. Instead, the wilderness stretches way over out here, much farther than it needs to. There's nothing here. Which makes me wonder, was something planned? Cut content? Or do they simply just want the world to feel, wider than necessary? By the time I'd gotten to here, I'd mostly just written off this corner of the map, as there hadn't been much to see except for that, general big expanse of nothing I just talked about before. But while heading back north, I stumbled across this cool sniper camp. Someone was living up here, keeping a close eye on the super mutants over in the Grindstone Arch area. I assume picking off the occasional target, judging by the hash marks. Looks like they got about 5 of them. Good job, guy. Down here along the bottom of the map, high up in the mountains, there's this just random chair at the edge of the cliff. Why is the chair there? Was someone enjoying the view, or did they fall off? Were they pushed? I actually circled back around to the bottom of the cliff to see if I could spot a dead body or some evidence that someone had fallen from up there. Didn't find anything. So maybe it was just someone up there enjoying the view. Can't blame them. So let's go back to that piece of building in the river from earlier on. As you've probably been able to tell so far, I really love small details in the environment that infer a larger storyline. So imagine my disappointment when I realized that this floating bit of factory facade that is in the river doesn't actually come from anywhere. Part of the backstory of Fallout 76 involves the Somerville Dam breaching and flooding the surrounding areas. And if you follow the outflow of the breach, you can see that the floodwater should have come right by the factory. And that the stream bottom nearby does indeed look very churned up, as if the floodwater came through here. So when I saw this bit of factory out in the river, I thought, neat. A bit of the factory was supposed to have been ripped off by the flood and deposited in the river. What fun environmental storytelling. Except, I can't find where it came from. I searched the factory walls, I circled it multiple times, nothing matches. If I missed something, please tell me. I generally want to be wrong about this. It would be a great bit of environmental storytelling. So that's all my points of interest in the basic map. But with the addition of Burning Springs, I also went over there to check things out. The zone is very long and thin, so I didn't really find much, but I did find a couple of things. Let's check them out. On the far edge of Burning Springs, there's 2 pileups. One's a bunch of cars, the other's a derailed train. They act as like physical barriers to the edge of the map, giving you a reason why you can't go any further, which is more than you can say for most of the map. But they made me realize something about the rest of the map. There are no roads leading out of the Appalachian Wasteland. At this point, I've walked the whole thing, the entire edge of the map. The only place where a vehicle could enter or exit the map is a collapsed train tunnel in the north, which was clearly for freight trains, and the collapsed bridge that now leads to Burning Springs. In retrospect, it does seem kind of weird that there are no other roads leading out of the area. Finally, we started with bears, and we're ending with bears. These ones are summoning a demon, I guess, I don't know. Off to the side of the Rust Kingdom in Burning Springs, I found this little circle of stuffed bears surrounding an eldritch summoning circle. Who could say what they're preparing to bring into this broken world? But I wish them luck. I actually returned here later and discovered that sometimes in the middle of the circle is a Deathclaw egg, so that's helpful. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour of the edge of Fallout 76. Small implied environmental storytelling is one of my favorite things in games, especially huge, somewhat impersonal games like Fallout 76. So taking the time to stop and look at any of them was fun for me. Thanks again for watching. I am the Cromulent Archer. Now go watch Annie Austin's video if you haven't already. It's better than this one. See ya. But while walking, she sells seashells by the seashore. Oh man, no idea my mic was so heavy.